Hey guys, this is Locke. In this video, I'm going to go through the Grave of Venom, and I'm going to talk about what to do if you don't have Garius, Varaish, Frurbath. Those are three very popular epics that I've been using in a lot of my videos when I'm talking about, beating the stage. And if you even look at the lineup for people that have been using these, everyone is using Garius. I don't think there is, I mean, unless you have a full legendary team, every other team that's beaten this has used Garius. Actually, there's one team. Oh yeah, no, every single team. So, what do you do if you don't have Garius? I've even posted some of my builds in Reddit, and a lot of people said, "Hey, I don't have Garius. I don't have Warish. What do I do?" So, I'm gonna talk about what to do. Uh, what I will be doing is, unfortunately, theory crafting because I don't have enough potions to level up the units that I'm going to be talking about. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain all the problems with this new Grave of Venom. For example, it's not just that we have four of these poison elements before we get two. That's not the only problem. Another problem that's arising is that this boss is now able to attack everybody with his AoE. So before, the people at the backline, we didn't really care about them because you're like, hey, they're not going to take any damage. But now they are. So one of the problems that arises now is that your healing is now going to be split between your front line and your back line. So because of that, it's not even that your defense isn't enough. Your healing might actually not be enough, or you're using the wrong healers. A lot of the healers that I used to use before don't even work anymore because of this problem. So I'm going to be talking about all of the problems with this new Grave of Venom, and I'm going to also be talking about the heroes that you can use to counter these problems. Not just I don't know Garius, but like there's a lot of other good heroes that could work here, and I'm going to talk about why it works, and then I'm going to leave it up to you. I mean, as I said, this is going to be theory crafting. I can't show you my solutions because I don't have the the potions and the elemental crystals to level these guys up and do it and show you. So you have to you can see what I'm saying, see if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I mean, don't do it. If it makes sense and you're struggling, maybe you can attempt it. But anyway, so let's go through this. So in previous videos, whenever I'm talking about this, I've even done like other videos where I'm talking about the level 9 version of this, and I did level 9 with just rares one time in the previous Grave of Venom. And the very first thing that I talked about, regardless of what I'm doing, which stage I'm doing, I said that it's really important to take advantage of the attack penalty 2 debuff. So that's something that's really important. But with this new Grave of Venom, with the setup that you have, you can't attack the boss directly. So you have to use units that are going to cast it in an AoE kind of area. Because if it's only single target, whenever you start the fight, your single target attacker, wherever, regardless of the position, they're either going to attack this poison ball over here, or they're going to attack this guy over here. So you need to have attack penalty debuffers that will use it in an AoE setting, and you obviously want it to have 100% chance of casting. You want it to you also want it to overlap, so you want their cast time to be 20 seconds. Like you actually want to be using units that have their cast time reduced from 23 to 20 seconds, so you can overlap it. And once you've done that, you also want to go to the edit skill and make sure that they're casting it such that they don't overlap. Like they don't both cast it at the same time. So you want to set one of them, in this case I'm using Frurbath, to be at the 12-second interval, and the second one you want it to be at the 20-second interval. So that way they will both keep overlapping. If I'm using Sigrid, I actually want Sigrid to be cast a little bit before the first one's skill expires. And the reason for that is because Sigrid is only going to, Sigrid is a single target attacker, but she additionally attacks and casts her skill on anyone else that has a debuff. So by using this, I can ensure that Sigurd's skill takes off before Frurbath's skill finishes, right? So I will basically for a 20-second interval, I will have 19.5 seconds of a debuff penalty covered. So I will only have 0.5 seconds where I will not have that attack penalty debuff on the boss. There are 6 units that you can use that have this AoE type thing, and thankfully, several of these 6 units actually serve multiple roles. So that's really good. But let's go over the 6 units first, and then you know, I want to create like a comprehensive guide, sort of. I'm only going to be talking about epics and rares. There are a lot of other legendaries that work. I mean, there's so many of them, but most people will not have access to them. If you have access to them, switch them as you need, because I mean, you know which units you have, and the way I'm talking about it, you'll be able to see if it fits the situation better or not. But the 6 units, the 6 rares and epics. The first one is Gareth. Now, Gareth, you actually have to be careful with your positioning, because the way that he casts his skill, you have to position him exactly where I have my Garius. And the reason for that is because, so Garius is here right now. When the battle starts, he will move up to this square. When he's in this square and he casts his skill, pretend this is Gareth. When Gareth is in this square and casts a skill, it will hit these 6, well, more than these 6, but these 6 spots for sure. So the boss is covered in that range. If instead you have Gareth over here and he goes over there, the boss is not going to be covered in that range. So if you're using Gareth, make sure that you use Gareth in this spot here, so he can run up over here, and the boss will be afflicted with this attack penalty skill. So Gareth is the first one, and he's actually a very good choice. But let's move on. Let's talk about the 6th, and I'll talk more about Gareth after, and why I think he's actually really good for this. So anyway, let's move on. So Gareth is number 1. Frurbath is number 2. I mean, a lot of people already know about Frurbath. Actually, there's 7, not 6. Sorry, so there's 7 units. Frurbath is very good. He has AoE as well, but a lot of people specifically said, well, what if I don't have Frurbath? So I'm not going to talk in much detail about him, but instead, let's move on to the next one. The next one is Shook. Shook also has a good area of effect. This covers where the boss and one of those orbs are standing, so it will be covered in that range. Shook is also additionally benefiting from increasing everyone's accuracy by 40, because you're using attack penalty debuff, and you need, I think, more than 170 accuracy to be able to cast it on the boss consistently at level 7 and above. Having 40 extra accuracy across your teams, where at least 2 people will benefit, because you will need 2 attack penalty debuffers, this is pretty good. So Shook is not a bad choice to use. The next one is Lola. Lola also, has a good range. She's also additionally able to silence and stun. Now, silence and stun is not going to work on the boss, but stun especially might work on those orbs, so you can indirectly reduce some of the damage that they do to your units. And then we have some rare options. The first one is Yamra. Now, again, with Yamra, you have to make sure that you're using the position I just showed you with Gareth, because of where she is. It will only work if Yamra is positioned where I just showed you. If you put her all the way to one side or the other, it's not going to work. But Yamra is pretty good, and she has a lot of other defensive capabilities as well. I'm going to talk in more detail about Yamra and Gareth, but let me just finish this list. So Sigurd is the next one. Sigurd also has attack penalty debuff. You just have to make sure that you're a little bit careful with your skill timings, which I already talked about. And the last one on this list is Irina. Irina has pretty good attack capabilities and a little bit of supporting capabilities as well because of her shield. But she's a good choice to use as well. So that is the first thing that we need. We need 2 attack penalty debuffers. If you don't have attack penalty debuffers, I think this thing is going to be a lot more difficult to do. When I started Season 2, I was using an ice and light team, and now I'm no longer using an a fully ice and light team, I'm actually using 2 poison elements that are off this 5 main elements, because it's just so much harder to do these dungeons at level 7 and above if I don't consistently have attack penalty debuffers. And the problem with ice and radiance is that they lack attack penalty debuffers. So I had to go off elements to include Sigurd and Frurbath to make sure that I have 2 attack penalty debuffers. So it's really important, I think, that when you're coming up with the team build options, unless you have a lot of legendaries and you have units that can revive and cast immortality and so on, all those fancy stuff, I think attack penalty debuffing is one of the most simplest things that you need to run your team effectively. And there are 7 really good options to use. So within that, the next problem that we have is choosing a really good defensive unit. Because, as a lot of people have pointed out, now you have 4 orbs and they all attack with the boss while this boss is attacking. Where is that? Yeah, they have a 60% chance of triggering the assistance of these Flame of Elements. One way to reduce that is to debuff everybody, right? So even by applying that attack penalty debuff on these poison elements, you're actually reducing the chance that they are attacking with the boss, because every time you cast a debuff on them, it reduces the chance of assistance by 30%. So if you have 2 debuffs on all of your poison element things all the time, then the assistance rate will basically be 0, right? So debuffing, and especially attack penalty debuffing, is widely important for this. So anyway, moving on. So I'm talking about the tank now, the one that that is going to take the most of your damage. I'm using Garius, but a lot of people have said, Garius is really good. He can heal. If I don't have Garius, I'm really stuck. I don't know what to do. So there are 2 options that I think can work, and let me go over them, and I'll tell you why I think these 2 units are very good. Thankfully, one of them is a rare. But again, this is theory crafting. So if you are trying out what I'm telling you, if I'm already using it, please leave a comment talking about your experience with this. If it doesn't work, I do want to know. Unfortunately, I can't test this right now because I don't have the potions and stuff to level them up. So I'm just going based off of theory. But Gareth, I think, is going to be a really, really good tank. First of all, he has attack penalty debuff, which is something you already want, right? But the next thing that he has is that his passive, whenever he takes damage that exceeds 20% of his max HP, he gets half of that damage back as healing. So basically, he will only be taking half of the. Most of the boss's hits will do more than 20% damage to him, but he will gain back most of that as healing afterwards. So because of that, he has a lot of extra survival just built in him with his passive. Additionally, his battle skill also gives him extra defense up every 5 seconds on a 10-second interval. So half the time he will have defense up, and he also reduces the damage taken from that enemy. Now this is not, he will probably cast it on the poison element in the beginning, but if you are able to get rid of that poison element from the beginning, and then you move on to the boss, he will be able to cast this on the boss. So he will even if he doesn't cast this on the boss, he still gets extra 60% defense every 10 seconds on a 5-second every 5 seconds on a 10-second interval. So he has a lot of built-in survival abilities, and I think he is probably, I went through all the epic and rare options for tanks that you can use in place of Garius to survive the boss and these 4 orbs attacking at once. And I think Garius is probably the best option there, just from the way that he's built the inbuilt survival that he has. Unfortunately, there is one caveat, because if you are going to be using him as an attack penalty debuffer, you do unfortunately need to bring up his accuracy. So because you're bringing up his accuracy, his defense is going to suffer a little bit. And unfortunately, the only way around that is to not really use him as an attack penalty debuffer, just build him straight for defense, and bring 2 other attack penalty debuffers. You might still be able to get away with it. Like, you might still be able to get away with bringing high accuracy on him and defense. There is a particular item. Unfortunately, it is epic, but a lot of people have invested in this. A lot of people that get their first epics got the Crown of the Unclean. So this is a good item for him because it increases his accuracy and his defense, and of course also applies defense penalty 1, which is great. But this is basically covering 2 of his statistics that he needs. It gives him extra accuracy, gives him defense. With that, and the food, you have to use this particular food. You can buy the items from the store, so it wasn't really hard to craft it. But this is going to give an extra 15 accuracy and 10% defense. You can use the battle skills. If you're using Sigurd, extra 30% accuracy. If you're using Shook, that's an extra 40 accuracy. So with all those things, you can build up accuracy that you hopefully don't need to have an something like this. Like, you hopefully don't need to bring an accuracy chess piece. You can hopefully bring a defense chess piece. But if it doesn't work, if you're not able to get it above 170 accuracy, then you have to bring 2 other attack penalty debuffers. So it is a little bit. You have to tinker around with it a little bit, or maybe Garius is not Garius. Gareth has enough defenses and passives built in that even with an accuracy chess piece, he's still able to tank the boss. That might be the case. Level him up to 90 and gear him outfit him with the best gears that you got otherwise, and maybe he's okay. Unfortunately, I can't tell you. You have to kind of try it out and see what works and what doesn't work, because I can't test this out myself right now. But if you don't have Gareth, because again, Gareth is also unfortunately an epic, and you might just not have Gareth. So what do you do if you don't have Gareth? Well, the next unit that I think the best, and if you don't have Gareth, I have to go with a rare unit. I think Yamra is probably the best bet otherwise, especially within the rare units. And the reason for that is she also has a really good passive that can basically increase her defenses. So anytime someone does damage to her, she will take 1.5% less damage from that unit. So after hitting, if the boss hits her 20 times, she's basically consistently going to be taking 30% less damage from the boss. Now, she might not survive 30 times, right? So let's not, not 30 times. She might not survive 20 hits. So let's scale back a bit, like say 10 times. If she takes 10 hits from the boss, she basically permanently reduces the damage that the boss is going to do to her by 15%. She also has an attack penalty skill as well, and she also gains defense up 1. Now, is that enough? That's tricky, because her stats are going to be lower than Garrett's because she is a rare. So I don't know if she is enough. Like, I looked around for the best rare unit, the best rare tank that you could use, and this was what I could come up with. Is she going to be enough at the 7th level? I don't know, because it is a pretty high bar, and unfortunately she might just not be enough. You might have to bring a lot of healers, and if you bring a lot of healers, maybe your damage output isn't enough. So I don't know if it's enough. But if you're struggling at the 5th level of Venom, because I've heard a few people say that I don't know what to do. I can't get past stage 5. There is 4 of these orbs. I don't know what to do. I think Yamara might be able to help you, at least at level 5 and level 6, because if you don't have a better option, this is the best that you've got, right? So you have to use what you have. And being a rare and having attack penalty debuff, you can also level up her skills a lot faster. She also does come up with the aura skill of increasing defense by 18%. If you don't have Gareth, if you don't have Garius, if you don't have Warish, sorry, not Warish. If you don't have Frurbath, Yamara might just be the best bet. If you have Frurbath, use him. But a lot of people came to me and said, I don't have Frurbath, what do I do? So that's why I started with, Gareth instead. Gareth and then Yamara. But those are, I think, the best options for tanks. People also talked about Dalbam, but I don't think he's that great. He has something that would basically, I mean, if he dies the first time, he doesn't die, but that's going to be used up quickly, and then what is he going to do after that, right? He has a little bit of a shield and defense, but I think just passive wise, the other two options are better. I think Gareth is definitely the best option. If you have Gareth and you don't have Garius, you don't have Vorish, try him out. I think he would be the best option. If you have Garius and you don't have others, what I would do then is I would switch the positions of these two. So what I would do, and I can even show you here because I have Garius. I have Gareth. Let me show you the position I would use. I just have to scroll a little bit and find him. Okay, so what I would do is I would use Gareth as my main tank, and then I would use Garius in the other position. I would put Garius here. So Gareth is taking the most damage, and Garius is just able to heal. And the reason for that is because Gareth actually has better defensive passives than Garius does. Garius is still able to do his healing, even not being the main tank. So that's what I would do. But I'm not. Oops. Yes, but I'm not spending too much time talking about Garius and Warish and Frurbath because that's what people. That was a premise. So now we have additional problems. The other problem that we have with the stage is that the boss is going to attack everyone, and he actually does deal quite a bit of damage to everybody as well. So it is even with this. It's only one skill, and that skill is only going to go off once every 18 seconds, but it does massive damage. Even if it doesn't one-hit kill your team, say it brings your HP down to even like 40%, right? Say the three guys in the back, their health is down to 40%. What your main healer is going to do now is probably heal the three of them. If you have somebody like Hexandra, let me just do this so it's easier. If you have somebody like Hexandra healing, if Hexandra is one of your main healers that you're using, with her range of healing that she has, she's going to actually focus on these three. She's going to heal them. And because she spent her healing on them, the next time the boss attacks with his main skill, your tank might die, right? So the second problem that is coming up with this new positioning is that you need to use healers and shielders that would actually target your entire team. You don't want targeted units. You want ones that would apply heals throughout. And there are quite a few options for them. Unfortunately, a lot of them are epics, but there are so many options that I think you should hopefully be able to find some that work for you. So let's go over the list. And once I go over this list, I will actually talk about a team that I would use. If I was building a team from scratch, and I don't have Vorish, I don't have Garius, and I don't have Frurbath, what's the team that I would use? I will go over that, and after I go through this. Okay, so healers that target everyone, healers or shielders, Adolphus is very good because he does damage, right? And his damage is based off of attack and enlightenment, but then he also applies a shield to all allies and is also based off of enlightenment. So if you get his enlightenment up really high, he will do, pretty good damage while also being able to apply a pretty good shield to everybody. He's also able to heal people as well. If you're using two shielders, the second time that he's shielding them, he will also grant them additional heals. So he's a pretty good option for that. There is another shielder that applies shields to everyone, and that's Nathaniel. He's also able to apply to all allies defense up 1, very good, and he's also able to provide them some healing as well. Again, targets the entire range. So this is a very good option. Both of these guys are really good because they target everybody. They don't only focus on either the front line or the back line. They're able to target everybody, which is really what you want, because otherwise, eventually you'll find that your heals are mismatched and you're targeting the backline when your front line needs it and your front line dies, or you heal your front line and your back line didn't get enough healing such that the 18 seconds later when the boss attacks, your back line dies. So you really want somebody that can target everyone. So those are the two shielders that work. Thankfully, there's quite a few healers that work as well. Obviously, Garius is one, but we're not going to talk about him because, you know. Cypherus is an interesting option. If you are using Cypherus, make sure you don't use her ultimate skill. Just leave it off. Because if you're using ultimate skill and she consumes 30% of her own HP, she's going to die really fast. Because basically, she's using 30% of her current HP and then an additional 10% of her current HP using her battle skills, and her health will just be depleted really fast. But she does give 20% of max healing to everybody every 10 seconds. So that's really fast and really good. Now, she does use her own HP to cast her battle skill, so you have to pair her up with somebody else. Like Nathaniel could work really, because Nathaniel also provides some healing and shielding as well, so you're able to keep her survival up long. She's not going to be, if she's your only primary healer and the only healer on your team, it's not going to work because she's going to die. She's going to use up her whole health and kill herself. But I think she could easily work when you pair her up with someone else. But it is, I think, really important that you make sure you remove the skill. When you click on auto, if you click the skill button, like you click her portrait, then she will just not cast her skill. So that's one easy way to avoid her killing herself with the skill. Other good options. There's a lot of poison options actually. So Vikuk is another one. He also, heals everybody. He is also good for other stages as well, like the Phoenix stage, because he dispels 2 debuff from all allies. So it's very great for that. And then he's also, able to cast attack penalty as well. This is not really on the timing that you want, because this is once every 5 seconds on a 10-second interval, but it could potentially work. You try it out and you see if it works, and if him and one other main attack penalty debuffer works for you, and you're able to get the timings to work, that's great. But he does work because he is targeting everyone. And yeah, he's a pretty good option. There are 2 more that work. The next one is Zarloth. Zarloth also is able to heal everybody and also inflict quite a bit of damage as well. Passive also heals the ally with the lowest current HP by 300 attack. So you can even increase, you can even put attack speed gear on Zarloth to make the healing once every 8 seconds instead of once every 10 seconds if you want. But yeah, he's a pretty good option. And last but not least is Thea. Now Thea is interesting because she does a couple of things. Last season, she was one of my all-time favorite units because she did so many things well. In this season, especially for this dungeon, you need to use 2 units that are melee. So she will only be able to affect 3 units at most, right? Because what she does with her skill, she gives invisibility to all ranged allies. So that will be herself and 2 other ranged allies. And then she is able to heal the ally with the lowest current HP and the invisible allies. So she's basically able to heal 4 out of 5 units. But she's also able to grant invisibility and reduce the damage that allies with invisibility take. So if you find that you're doing, say, stage 7 or stage 8, and your backline allies are dying too fast to the damage, maybe this is somebody you can bring to reduce the damage that they take. So those are all the options that I found. I don't know if there's any that I missed. If there is, let me know. But I think those are the people that will work. At minimum, though, I think you have to use somebody with Hexandra's healing. You can't use units that have Quarion's heal, because Quarion's heal is only going to target 2 units the way that you're going to position. You're not even going to be able to target 3. So now you're actually splitting your healing between 3 sets of units. You're going to find 2 sets of units not being healed properly, and they're going to die. So in fact, when I did a previous stage in one of my videos, I actually switched Quarion to, I think it's Kalidor. I don't know how to say his name, but I had to switch him for this guy because his healing, this range is better. I think this should be the minimum. If you don't have healers that can target everyone, you have to at least use healers that can target this range. And there are a few options again. This guy is one of them. Hexandra is another one. Catherine is another. And there is one more, which is Garion. This guy. So these are the second tier of healers, and at least the minimum tier of healers. Any lower than this, I don't think you're gonna have a good time. The best would be if you use the all, healers to target everyone. But just in case you just don't have those epic units, these are alternate units that you could use. Now, finally, how would I build this team? So I need to have 2 units that use attack penalty. I need to have shielders and healers. I also want to make sure that I have teams that can take advantage of the affinity. So how would I build this team? Well, let me show you a team that I would use that does not use, Garius and Frurbath and so on and so on. So I am going to use a poison team because the poison team seems to have some of the best units. Yeah, some of the best all-around units, and then I also wanted shielders. Thankfully, poison and lightning go together this time, so I can use the shielders from the lightning team and pair them up with the healers from the poison team. So I would do something like this. Yeah, so I would do something like this, and for the last slot I would use a attacking melee unit like this, maybe. So a team like this covers, I think, all the things that I just talked about. I have 2 units that have attack penalty, which is Gareth and Sigrid. I have a healer that targets everyone. I have a shielder that targets everyone and also provides additional healing as well. And then for my last slot, I have somebody that does damage. I do still need to beat this thing within a time limit, so I would use this guy to do that. Alternatively, if I find that having a melee unit like this is just not working because he dies, right? Because he is going to take damage from 2 of the boss's skills now. He's going to take damage from this skill as well as this skill, and maybe I'm just not able to do that. Then what I would do is I would use Yamra. I would use, where is she? That. Oops. Yeah, I would use that, and instead of Sigrid, I would have whatever best DPS that I have. It might even be like a legendary unit. If I have a legendary, maybe like, I don't know, maybe not Arch, I don't know. Whatever best legendary unit that I have, whatever, whoever I'm able to use, Twitch, I don't know, anybody, like that's what I would do. So that's the team composition that I would go with. And of course, these guys are replaceable with whoever I just talked about. Like I could use Cypherus instead of Wikook. I could use Adolphus instead of Nathaniel, But one thing that I want to make sure that I'm using is I want to have as many units within the 3-element affinity that I have, and I definitely want to make sure that my tank is covered in that. Like, I cannot do, for example, this. Like, let me just go back to the lightning unit that I was using. This. Like, I cannot do this. And the reason I cannot do this is because although I have a 3-element synergy, this is only to the units within this element. So the 4 units, except for the tank, is benefiting from extra defense and HP, but I really need my tank to, my tank is the one that needs that, right? So whoever I'm using for my tank, I have to make sure it's included within the 5-element synergy. So that's one of the reasons why I picked why I picked something like this, because everybody is covered within the 5-element synergy. Um, yeah, so this is one team that I would use if I had to build it again and I don't have access to the 3 main epics that people are using. If I have one or two of the 3 main epics, like uh, if I have Frurbath, I would probably use Frurbath instead of. Oh, actually, sorry. I have to use Sigrid here because where did she go? Oh, yeah, she's at the front over here. Yeah, this is how it looked like. Yeah, if I had Frurbath, I would probably replace Sigurd with Frurbath and then use a whatever damage dealer I have here. Like I would mix and match depending on whatever I have, but this is how I would go about building this team. Um, Now that's the best I can do, unfortunately, because I cannot build these guys out right now. So I hope this video was helpful. I know it's a bit long-winded, but I had to explain all the problems in detail and then talk about how to solve each problem. Because otherwise, like, I am theory crafting, so if I'm not explaining it in detail, I don't think it's a very good theory craft, right? I hope this makes sense. If you don't think it makes sense, if you also tried it out and it doesn't work, let me know as well, because you know I, this is the best I can do. But if it just doesn't work, let me know as well, so I can advise people that hey, it doesn't work. Or if it does work and you tried it out, let me know. So again, I can advise. The one thing that I said that I am really not sure about is Yamra, because as I said, I don't know if Yamra will work in 7 or 8. But if you're struggling before that, 5 and 6, I think Yamra could work, because from what I saw of her, I think she could work. Um, you have to it would be a balance between figuring out how much defense and how much accuracy to give these tank slash attack penalty debuffers, though. So the only caveat there is that maybe you have to go with them as full tanks and use 2 other units that you can bring as attack penalty debuffers instead. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I will see you guys next time. Take care now.